Hi YouTube, my name is Dr. Marissa Maclin, and I'm super excited to be talking to you about a really important topic, and that is the 3 steps in how I came to quit my job as a physician and go into business for myself. And I want you to stay tuned for the last step because it's the most important. So, like I said, I'm a physician, a board certified anesthesiologist, and chronic pain specialist. And I'm also a Reiki master. That's level 3. So that means not only do I participate in traditional medicine healing practices such as Reiki, but I'm also practicing in chronic pain management, or have been practicing in chronic pain management. And my current main job is working for myself in my self-named business, Dr. Marissa Maclin, MD, Reiki healing and coaching. And what I do in this business is Reiki healing, but I'm also coaching people on how to make big transitions in their lives, such as the one that I made, which was completely changing careers and even moving at the same time. And doing it during a time in my life that was not the most convenient. I hadn't finished all my student loans. But I want to be able to talk to you about how a career break, 2 career breaks actually, changed my mindset and set me on this path. And this video is inspired by Stephanie Perry, and her channel is named for her. And the exact video that I listened to was how a career break changes Black women. And Stephanie does an excellent job of illustrating how, after she has interviewed 30 plus Black women and how they had taken sabbaticals, taken breaks from their professional careers, and how the mindset and the outlook that they had on life led them to actually quit their jobs and do something completely different. And Stephanie Perry, I've been watching her for a long time. She has been instrumental in me executing this career change that I've done for myself. And what she suggests is using something called house sitting and the Trusted House Sitters website to bop around the world affordably and to be able to live a life of ease without using work as the center or the main center of their lives. So that's essentially what I've done. So the three steps that I'm going to talk about are, well, what I want to talk about, let me set that up, is instead of using a tool like Trusted House Sitters or house sitting, I wanted to talk to the women who hadn't quite gotten to the point of figuring out how they were going to quit, or just actually pulling the trigger. So I want to talk about how I got to change my mindset and become secure in knowing that I could support myself and not necessarily have to practice medicine for the rest of my life in order to live a life that I saw in my dreams. So the first step that I would say is the most important in changing your mindset and going ahead and quitting that job is listening to your body. What I would say is the most important in that is noticing the anxiety that you're going through at work. Even though anxiety might be something that's not specific. everybody talks about how they get the jitters on Sunday about going to work on Monday, or if they have a big presentation. Those things are pretty consistent throughout all workers. However, my anxieties, such as, being anxious for performing the spinal cord stimulation trial, even though they had always gone well, I was always nervous beforehand. Yes, that's something that happens with everybody, but for me, it meant something. For me, it meant that I needed to reevaluate and take a look at what I'm doing. And I'm not saying that I quit medicine because I disliked treating people and I disliked doing procedures. What I needed was just to work in a way that was in alignment. It was more in alignment with who I am. So listening to that anxiety, listening to the sleepless nights and consistent burnout, for me, something that I didn't realize until maybe 4 or 5 years ago is that I'm an empath. And I would have to tell you at that point, I didn't even know what an empath was. But at some point in my life, I started getting intuitive readings. And this person told me, "Oh, you're an empath." And I said, "Oh, okay." And I didn't really know what that meant in terms of the impact that it was creating on my life energetically and dealing with lots of different people during the day. And so for me, what being an empath is not only being an emotional empath, I absorb what other people are feeling. If I walk into a funeral, I'm gonna be sad. Of course, yes, that can happen to a lot of folks, but if I'm sitting next to someone on a subway car and they have anxiety, I'm suddenly gonna have anxiety and I'm not gonna know why. So now that I understand that about myself, I can regulate my energy. I can know that if I walk out of a patient examination room and I have back pain, that it's not mine. So there are little things like that that I had to listen to. And the reason why listening to your body is so important is because your peripheral nervous system is how you feel, see, and take in information from the world. And you take that information in, it goes through your nervous system, your peripheral nervous system, or nerves, and it goes to your spinal cord and your brain, which consists of the central nervous system. And that's where you put the information together and you can make a decision. So your peripheral nervous system can tell you if you're walking into let's say a store. The store seemingly looks fine, but you get a feeling that something's not right and you need to leave. That's your peripheral nervous system, or your gut telling you something's not right, even though it seems okay, that you should go. And sometimes we don't listen to that. And that's really important. It's super important to actually listen to it and know that you need to use that information to make an important decision for yourself. So, like I'm saying, listening to your body and really thinking about what that means in terms of how you're interacting and doing at work. So I would say the second way that I came to make this decision to leave my job was just going through and recognizing who I am, what my talents are. And I know that might sound silly, but it's not. As someone who has gone through so many years of preparing to go to medical school, going to medical school for 4 years, then going to residency for another 4, and then a fellowship for an additional year. But even before that, in high school, I knew I wanted to go to medical school, and so I worked toward that. So needless to say, my life has been geared toward this one goal. And so for me, that meant that I wasn't practicing the things that were specific to me. Like, I wasn't being creative. I wasn't singing. I like to sing. I wasn't doing that. I like painting. I like pottery. I wasn't doing those things. So what I'm trying to say is I didn't know myself. And in that way, I knew myself enough to get by, but I didn't know myself enough to say, or want to pull that trigger to say, you know what, maybe bringing another aspect of myself into medical practice could be a good thing for me. So in treating patients in chronic pain, you'll find that some patients do really, really well with minimal to no intervention. Some people would just come and say hi and chat with me once a month. They didn't take any medication. They weren't going to physical therapy, even though they were probably doing exercises on their own, and they weren't getting injections. And they tended to be doing the best, doing really well. And that was because they had innate coping mechanisms that they used. So those would be any kind of way that they could mindfully breathe themselves through a pain crisis, tell themselves that the pain will get better and that it's not taking their lives over. They would set realistic expectations for themselves and know that they were living at a new normal. On the other hand, there were patients who I was throwing everything, including the kitchen sink, at them in terms of several, 4 or 5, maybe even different medications. They were getting lots of different procedures. They were in physical therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy. They were doing all these things, but nothing was working. And that was because the mindfulness piece, the coping mechanisms, those weren't in place. And that's not the only reason, but I found that was the main reason. So in the way that I got to know myself better in treating all sorts of different patients was to realize that I was really, really good at connecting with folks. I was really, really good at listening, and I was really, really good at putting together what patients told me and giving them advice that was good for them. And so that was the number one thing. The other thing is I always knew that I was good with my hands. That was part of the reason why I went into chronic pain management. I knew I didn't want to be a surgeon and spend all of my time in the operating room. I knew I wanted to have a relationship with my patients, which is why I didn't stick with anesthesiology. I went into a subspecialty that led me to have long-term relationships with patients. And the hands piece comes in that not only was I good at manipulating the needle and executing the injections, patients told me all the time that they wouldn't even feel, this is possibly an exaggeration, but this is coming from patients' mouths. They barely knew that I was even doing anything behind them. Of course, that wasn't true for everybody, but in other words, I'm good with my hands. And even one of my toughest attendings when I was training in residency, he took the time out of his day to even tell me that I had good hands. And I remembered I need to take note of this, because he was tough, you know, and if he was giving you a compliment, then it meant something. So the reason why the hands piece for me is important is because I didn't just have good hands for needle manipulation. I had good hands because I have power that comes from my hands. This may sound crazy to others, it's not going to, but it's the energy. I have been told by people that I've dated that they could feel energy coming from my hands and that it felt good. And once I learned that, I started learning how to lay hands and use them as healing tools. I've even had intuitive readers tell me that I had a power in my hands that was going to progress and get stronger as I got older. And this was not at a time where I discovered Reiki for myself, but in listening to all these cues and starting to get to know myself, that was a way that I knew that Reiki was for me once I learned what it was. And once I learned what it was, I had never even had Reiki performed on me. Once I learned what it was, I got myself trained because I knew it was for me. So that's the second piece, is recognizing who you are and what your talents are and how you can best serve people that's in the highest alignment for you. So, like I said, the third and most important step for me in terms of quitting my job and focusing on my own business was two parts. It was changing my mindset and manifestation. So the changing my mindset piece was really getting my confidence up and my self-worth to a level where I could just quit my job and know that I could depend on myself to make money and live the life that I had in my dreams. Now, I didn't even get to the career breaks, so let me go in with that. I took a career break between my fellowship for chronic pain management and getting my first job. What was going on with me then was I had been interviewing in different private practices around the country, and I just hadn't quite found something that felt good to me. And what I did was I went home to Buffalo, New York, which is where I'm from. And that's where I continued to interview and eventually ended up staying and living in Buffalo for about 6 years until I moved here to New Orleans, Louisiana, one of my favorite places in the world. But sorry, I'm losing myself. So the mindset change. I was talking about the career break. So at that point in time, I got a taste of what it was like to go grocery shopping on a Tuesday mid-morning. Let me tell you, that was heaven. Just to be able to have authority over my own day and how it went, to be able to get up when I wanted, go work out, meditate, focus on the things that brought me joy and brought me into alignment, which was at this point, I mean, I wasn't practicing any hobbies because, again, like I said, I kind of didn't really know who I was anymore, because I let all of my creativity kind of languish. So that career break just gave me a taste of what it was like to own my day and own my time. And once I got into medicine, I did quickly go into working a 4-day week because it gave me the opportunity to have that third day out of the week to myself to just relax. And then maybe the Saturday, I would get things done. And then Sunday could be kind of like a family day, or, another day where I did kind of do some easy things, like something that I love to do, which is cooking. I could do some easy and fun things to get ready for the week, but also didn't feel so stressed because I only had 2 days to myself to rest and prepare for the week. So that's what the career breaks did for me, is just seeing how lovely it can be to own your own time and go to restaurants and coffee shops and do what you wanted to do whenever you wanted to. And I loved how that ease looked on me. So the mindset change came from going to coaches. I sat through 2 different coaching sessions, and they were very different. One was from an intuitive psychic, and the other one was with a physician, black woman physician, who created her own business, her own coaching business, Dr. Tony. Both Jamila White and Dr. Tony worked wonders for me in terms of helping me through what I needed, like taking me through certain steps, just, taking the overwhelm and putting them in bite-sized little steps that I could follow, and also getting me to realize that I could do this, that I had a great idea, and that if I didn't execute, somebody else was going to. So other mindset change tools that were important for me, a really important one was changing my subconscious mind, changing the attitudes and beliefs that I didn't even really know were in my mind and in my subconscious, to allow myself to be able to execute on this career change. Now, mind you, at the point where I stopped working, which was earlier this year, actually December of 2021, I was doing a chronic pain management job that I had fully intended to work for at least a few years because I wanted to pay my student loans completely off before I went into this new venture for myself. And that just didn't happen. The universe, once it got hold of the fact that I wanted a new life, I wanted to work on building my business and be an entrepreneur, and that it knew that I wanted to move to New Orleans, the universe just made it happen, to the point where I only was in that job for 3 months before the time was right to move. And what was happening was, and this is getting a bit into the manifestation piece, was that things were rolling and people were being put in my lap that helped me ease into this lifestyle and into this life with no problem. So the third thing that I wanted to talk about in terms of changing my mindset was not just the change in my subconscious to let me know that I could support myself, and that having this business idea for Reiki healing and coaching was in alignment with who I was, and just going with that and not staying uncomfortably comfortable with working long hours, being worn out and burnt out, trying to stick with something which was chronic pain management that I loved but wasn't quite working for me. So the manifestation portion, this is super important because I did not walk into this life based on hard work, lists of executing, grinding. I walked into it with ease. When I say that I walked into this life, I walked into it. I did not stress myself. It just happened. And I follow pretty much anything on YouTube that has Abraham Hicks in it. And if you don't know who Esther/Abraham is, in terms of their thoughts and teachings on the law of attraction, I would definitely suggest looking them up and reading the books by Esther and Jerry Hicks with the teachings of Abraham. So the steps in manifestation that I interpret from Abraham Hicks are: 1, to ask for whatever it is that you want. So for me, I wanted to be able to live without having to work consistently in medicine, supporting myself with my own business, and to move to New Orleans. And all I did was put that out there. And then step 2 is that universe says, okay, it's done. So even though you don't have it right away, that life already exists because you asked for it. And so step 3 is feeling into that life. So let's say, for example, me wanting to move to New Orleans. I actually only came here for the first time in 2018 for Essence Festival. I had a lovely, lovely time with one of my good girlfriends from college, and I realized that I really liked this city. I loved the feeling of it. However, I wanted to come back and visit during a time where I wasn't participating in a festival. So I ended up coming back in December for my birthday. And it was still very festive because December is Christmas time. And I still had a ball, but I was here alone on a solo trip, and I got to walk around the city and explore for myself, and go into neighborhoods that were not the French Quarter, and which is the hub of tourism. So I just kept coming back, and I say this to let you know that what happened was I got into the feeling tone of the city. So when I would go home, I would remember the New Orleans feeling, and I would carry that and I would feel it. In order to help me with that, I would listen to the music of the city, or I would watch shows that were based in New Orleans, like Treme. I would watch, I love them, free tours by foot, New Orleans. I'm forgetting these guys' names, but during the pandemic, they were doing walking tours of the city. And that allowed me to feel what it was like to walk through these neighborhoods without even being here. So feeling into the city, that means that I'm already living it before even being in it. So what that does, and this is step 3, it's feeling into what it is that you want. And that allows the universe to bring it to you a lot more quickly. Now, you cannot introduce resistance. And resistance can come from the person saying, where is it? I said that I want to move. It's not happening. When is it going to happen? Or worrying about how it's going to happen. Oh, how am I going to find an apartment? Am I going to know anybody there? So what else happened with me feeling into what it's like to live there is I hooked back up with, or met with, or happened to meet up with someone from my medical school who already lived here. And he's a super social person who has this large network of dope people here in New Orleans. And in that way, through him, I was able to find this lovely place to live in. It's in a neighborhood called the South 7th Ward. It's blocks away from the Treme, blocks away from the Marigny, not very far from the French Quarter. I mean, to me, the most amazing neighborhood or most amazing place in this city. Plus, this is a 2-story, 3,500 square foot home that is typically New Orleans. There's a pool with a waterfall, a water feature. I mean, this is better than what I could have done on my own, looking on Zillow, whatever it is that people do. So just letting you know that the universe will conspire to get you what you want, and it'll do a lot better of a job than you can do. And even right now, since this is a temporary space for me, I've been looking for apartments. One of my friends calls me up. I literally just went to go look at this apartment. It has everything that I wanted: front porch, enclosed backyard, allows dogs, so Max is going to be able to come down, 2 bedrooms, obviously at least 1 bath. It had everything. It fell in my lap. I didn't use the internet. I didn't use a realtor to find it. That's the universe. So that step 3, feeling into it, living it, letting go of resistance. The other part of letting go of resistance is kind of like stepping away from what it is that you asked for, not thinking about it so much. Like, I know that maybe thinking of something positively or in a good way is one way that people think is a good way to bring it to you. However, sometimes when you think about something too much, even if you think it's positive, you're still introducing some sort of resistance into the equation. So sometimes just letting it go. Like with this new apartment that I had just found, I was getting a little frustrated. I was going through the, oh my gosh, where is it? I need to be out of here by this time, or I want to be out by this month. I just had to let it go. And I started focusing on my business a lot more, or letting that be my main focus, or just taking care of myself, continuing my meditation and self-Reiki practices every day, going for walks, eating healthy food, and bam, look what happened. So anyway, those are my 3 steps to actually pulling the trigger and doing what I wanted to do to bring a life of ease to myself. And I love this for me. I'm in the tropics. I go to the coffee shop every day and do my work. I see clients when I want to see them. The main portion of My business is web-based, so I can be anywhere in the world doing this job and still connecting with people and doing distance Reiki and coaching folks, even though I do see people here in New Orleans. Like I said, the life of my dreams, and it's happening. What I would like to do is bring you along for the journey. And I have so many other videos that I want to share, not only this topic, talking about how I created this life for myself, but I also want to show you guys what I do on a daily and weekly basis, where my friends hang out, some of the hobbies that I'm getting back into now that I have time to myself. I can pick the things up that I'm interested in doing, and I'm not gonna list them. I just want to post the videos and let you see what's going on. I also want to talk to you guys about my skincare routine. That's something that's been developed and gotten very intricate since I have time to pamper myself. And honestly, pampering myself is one of the favorite things that I do. One of the best parts of my day is getting ready for bed. I love it. I gua sha my face. I put on all the serums. I take a long bath or shower actually with my healing tones. Anyway, you know what I'm saying. So please like, subscribe, comment below. Please tell me what exactly you want to hear from me, because I have so much to offer. And please look at the link down in my bio, but my website is linked. And if you'd like to work with me, I would love to have you. It's marissamaclin.com. So really easy to find me. Again, come back. I'd love to talk more with you about living our best lives. Take care.